Violent crime has been the main issue in the last 3+ years. With the steady increases that we've had, Montana has the highest violent crime rate in the continental Northwest. And we know a lot of it is meth driven. So a lot of our emphasis has been trying to get on top of that issue, not just dealing with the results of crime on the back end, but trying to deal with the upfront meth problems. So we've been going after the meth issue, hitting it on all fronts. We've been going after supply with law enforcement, and then we've been working hard to try to build coalitions that can help address the demand side of meth through prevention and treatment.
When I spoke to you a year or more ago, beyond meth, you were talking about fentanyl and the new meth, as you were calling it then. Can you update us on that disturbing trend?
Fentanyl is going to be a major challenge for Montana going forward. It already is a significant challenge, but the economics behind fentanyl are very similar to the economics behind meth. It's synthetic. It can be made in large quantities by the cartels and brought in under the same distribution methods as meth. Fentanyl, as we all know, is extremely toxic, extremely addictive, and extremely toxic. It drives a lot of the overdose deaths that we see in the country. Fentanyl is laced into methamphetamine, and it's laced into heroin, opioid prescription pills, and that, so far, we haven't been hit as badly in Montana as other places in the country, but there's no reason the economics of fentanyl don't work here. We've made a lot of progress there, Jay, and we have a long way to go. It's a tremendous crisis when we have individuals who've gone missing and haven't been found, and we all can imagine the trauma that we would experience if someone in our family went missing and we weren't able to find them. We know that Native Americans account for about 26% of the missing persons in Montana, even though they make up just less than 7% of the population. So they're overrepresented in the percentage of people who go missing. Now, well over 97% of people who go missing are found. But of those who remain unfound, again, about the same percentage are Native American. So this is a serious issue that we need to address, and we've been going after it on a lot of different fronts. In the last 2 years, we partnered with the Montana Department of Justice as well as the FBI and the Bureau of Indian Affairs to put on 2 big statewide trainings for law enforcement on how to use databases and how to use alerts like Amber Alert when someone goes missing to be sure that these people are brought to law enforcement's attention and the attention of the greater public and can be found. During those same trainings, we offered a track to the public to help teach the public what to do if a loved one goes missing. There are certain affirmative steps you can take, including using NamUs, which is the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. It's the one computer system out there that's available, or database that's available to the public, not just law enforcement. So if someone out there is missing a loved one, they can go out on NamUs, NAMUS, and they can put in information about that loved one, and they can monitor the progress to see if any information is found about that person. Such a good system that we brought in a representative of NamUs and coordinated with all of our tribal governments last year to do a community session on all 7 reservations to train people on how to use it if a loved one goes missing. We've also focused on putting out a public service announcement to train people on what to do if a loved one goes missing. And of course, the legislature empowered the Montana Department of Justice to create the Montana Missing Indigenous Person Task Force, which is composed of a representative of each of our tribes, as well as Montana DOJ, our office, and some other key partners who've been working on this issue. But maybe the thing that we're doing that's most broad, with the broadest impact, is we've been working on what we call guides to develop tribal community response plans. If you recall, Attorney General Barr came out to Montana last November and was up on the Flathead Indian Reservation and announced the Department of Justice initiative. One of those things was to hire missing and murdered Indigenous persons coordinators in 11 U.S. attorneys' offices. We have one of those now, and we can talk about the value that he's added in these type of cases. But the main thing he discussed was the need to create protocols or guidelines for law enforcement, for victim services providers, and for the entire community to follow when someone goes missing. As you know, out on Indian country, on our Native American reservations, we have a lot of different jurisdictions.
Yes.
A lot of different law enforcement that have different jurisdictions over different issues. And so settling those cross-jurisdictional responsibilities is important. That same month, the president announced Operation Lady Justice, which also recognized the importance of these type of guidelines. And then Congress passed and the president signed Savannah's Act on October 10th of this year, again, this time codifying in statute that these type of tribal community response plans or guidelines need to be developed. So we've been working hard on those. I've been chairing the effort at the U.S. Department of Justice to get this work done. We've been working hard with the FBI, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, other law enforcement entities with a lot of experience, Health and Human Services, and other departments to come up with these draft guides. That's been done. In fact, we did that in spite of COVID, because COVID has created tremendous challenges for us to get out onto our Native American reservations and consult with our tribal governments to be sure that we get the best product we can. But we are to the point now where we're rolling them out into pilot programs across the country. So Montana has a pilot, Oklahoma, Alaska, Oregon, Michigan, and Minnesota are all doing a pilot program. So in 2 weeks, actually starting next Tuesday and then the following week, we'll be up working with our good colleagues and friends at the CSKT Tribal Council on the Flathead Reservation with 4 different working groups made up of tribal members, tribal community members, our office, and law enforcement at all levels to develop 4 different types of guidelines that will be a tribal community response plan, one of the first in the country for the Flathead tribal community.
What's your advice to your successor, Kurt? There's been, that is the hot seat, and you're fairly insulated, but what's your advice to whoever gets to succeed you there as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Montana?
Well, the first thing is to listen. There's a lot of people out there in this state who are very talented and knowledgeable about law enforcement and public safety issues, as well as broader issues. One of the things that I did right away was go out and visit all of our tribal councils. I've been out to our reservations over 20 times in the 2.5 years before COVID set in. Obviously, since COVID set in, that made it a challenge. But you need to get out of the office. You need to go out and talk to people. You need to go out and see people, learn what the issues are, and learn solutions. Our tribal councils are made up of very bright people who know their tribe best, they know their culture best, and they have good suggestions about how we can work together on public safety issues like missing and murdered Indigenous women, like the drug epidemic that's really ravaging Indian country in Montana. And what we can do to work together to make things better. And that isn't just, that goes beyond our tribal councils and goes out to our state and local law enforcement, our federal law enforcement partners, as well as all our folks in the community, like we've been working with the Yellowstone Substance Abuse Connect. All those who are working in the treatment area and the prevention area of drug abuse are tremendously important. And you notice the theme, we keep coming back to drugs a lot,
right?
But that's because most crime is connected to the drug trade. It's either dealer on dealer traffic, it's people who are breaking into homes or cars or businesses or robbing each other to get money to buy drugs to use or sell. And of course, as we learned with meth, there are a certain percentage of meth users who become violent. So much of what we deal with in the violent crime area and also the property crime area comes back to the drug trade. So the advice I would give to my successor again is listen, get out of just the narrow lane of law enforcement and collaborate with our state, local, tribal, and federal law enforcement partners, as well as get out of the law enforcement realm altogether and talk to people in the treatment area, the prevention area, the corrections area, because it's all interrelated. If we're going to push this crime rate down further and get on top of it, it's going to take that type of collaboration.
And the whole COVID thing, it seems like we're going to be dealing with this obviously for the rest of our lives, but as far as the immediate law and justice facilities in Montana, at least for the next year, they must be planning and getting supplies and being prepared to continue to deal with this.
Right. I mean, that's the reality we're in right now, Jay. I have to credit the leadership of the federal courts and all the courthouse stakeholders. We were one of the first districts in the country to get up and running in early May with grand juries and jury trials. Um, we are still one of the few federal courts in the country that's fully functioning. And we have to do that. We have to find ways to, as you just said, Jay, COVID's going to be with us in a while. For a while, we have to find ways to work safely while it's here. And we have to continue to do public safety. And we have to keep the criminal justice system working. So just take smart people and creativity. And every day, every week, we learn a little bit more and we get a little bit smarter about how to do things safely, but yet keep the wheels of justice moving.
And thank God we have this technology. What would we do without this technology? I know in my end of the world, in communication and television, that's been our savior. But without it, I'm not sure how we could have functioned. Those parts of the society you just mentioned, they have to function.
They do. And, whether it's our schools, whether it's our businesses, whether it's government, and certainly the criminal justice system, our hospitals, we all know all these areas have to continue to function. We have to figure out a way to coexist with this disease, at least until we get a game changer like a vaccine.
Kurt, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for your service on behalf of all Montanans for your 3 years there as U.S. attorney, and we'll look forward to crossing paths down the road.
Thank you, Jay. And again, it was the highest honor I could have been given to allow to serve the people of Montana these last 3 years. I was truly honored.